What is the most paranormal thing you have experienced? Part 2. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Unfortunately, nothing directly has happened to me. My spiritual antenna is broken. Closest thing would be deja vu. I do love hearing about people's paranormal experiences though. I'm currently working at a boarding school that was built in 1937 and used to be run by Covenant nuns. Many of my colleagues have had an experience here seeing auras, feelings of being followed, something tapping them on the shoulders, etc. The place creaks and cracks at night, and the long hallways and underground tunnels can be a little bit creepy. Still not sure if it's a blessing or a curse I don't have these experiences. I guess I'm just normal, lol. A viewing of a relative of mine was set up for 5 days and nights next door before the wake and funeral. This practice is actually very common to where I'm from. I was never close to them, but they always treat me and my cousin so sweet. So, at the first night when I was going to sleep, I felt someone tucking me in and sort of patting me to a good night's sleep. Instinctively, I look around for someone who might have entered my room. I checked my lock and sure enough, it's still locked. I was really creeped out at the time and just went back to sleep when exhaustion hits me hard. I didn't think of this back then, but I like to think that their last reminder that they still cared for all of us. This one is true, believe it or not. When I was a kid, I had very strict parents. I was allowed to play video games only an hour during my birthday per year. We weren't poor by any means, if you might think that. So I used to sneak up while they were sleeping in their room to take my phone and play on it. But with the years, I stopped doing that because it wasn't worth it. But my mom was paranoid and thought I would still do it. So one night while I was sleeping, my mom came in furious and turned on the light and slapped me so hard in the face and punished me, like no more pocket money for 2 weeks. And I was like half asleep and confused and was like, WTF is going on? She told me that I should stop lying, cause she and my father got woken up by a loud bang in their room, then saw a big black shadow running towards my room. She didn't believe me, and I can't really say either that she was crazy in her head because 2 people saw the same thing. So yeah, here it is. My friend's mother disappeared when he was a kid. Father was at work, kids were at school. It's a very small town, and there's no explanation. She's just never seen again. Years later, my friend is an adult, and he has an extremely intense dream where he's visited by his mother who says goodbye, and that she loves him. He wakes up, calls his younger sister and younger brother. All 3 had the same dream. They still don't know what happened to their mother, but they all believe she's dead. More paranormal in a friendly way, but last year the past fire chief and longest serving member of my area's emergency services department passed away. We had his funeral at my firehouse, and other departments in our county participated in giving him a fire department funeral. Since then, a very old radio in the engineer's room would turn on and start playing music when nobody touched it. It's happened several times, some while people were in the engineer's room, and other times when the doors were locked and nobody had been in the room for days. I like to believe that it's our late fire chief's spirit watching over us and hanging out at the station still. Shrooms. The experience showed me just how active the human brain is in creating your perception of reality. If all it takes is a little bit of fungus to make pictures laugh and rocks crawl, how certain can you be that what you experience every day is real? Not me, but when my mom was around 6 or 7, she and my grandma were staying with some friends of theirs in Maine. They were staying in the barn or something, and my mom had to use the bathroom, which was in the main house, in the middle of the night. Now the house had been in the family for a while, and a long time ago, the guy who lived in the house with his wife at the time went out to war. His wife would apparently sit in her rocking chair and wait for him to come home, but he died in action, so he never did. Anyway, my mom had to use the bathroom. Everyone was asleep, and there was no wind or AC in the house or anything. But as my mom looked through the window of the living room, she saw the rocking chair slowly swinging back and forth, back and forth. It took me a very long time to go to sleep after she told me that story. I was out walking in the park with my girlfriend at night. I heard these pounding footsteps and snarling. I turned to see, and there was this massive black dog, like bigger than a Great Dane, with glowing red eyes coming right at us. I froze and couldn't move. Never happened to me before, like I was paralyzed. All I heard was my girlfriend asking, What are you doing? About 10 yards away, it turned and ran into the woods. My girlfriend didn't see or hear anything. No, I was not on drugs and never even tried drugs at that point in my life. One night, I woke up and looked around the room. I saw my mom walk in and look around. Mom? I asked, looking at her in confusion. What are you doing? She started looking through my stuff. I was starting to get weirded out, so I got up and went towards her. She immediately turned around, and all I could see were her black eyes. I screamed and left the room. My actual mom came out of the room freaking out and asking me if I was okay. I told her that I saw her looking through my stuff, and she had black eyes. She told me I was probably hallucinating and to go back to bed. I tried to calm down and went back to bed, but just as I was falling asleep, I felt something grabbing my shoulder. I look over and nothing was there. At this point, I was like, fuck it, this room is haunted. But then as soon as I tried leaving the room, I heard a girl screaming. I looked outside and saw nothing. I went to my mom's room and told her I heard screaming and felt something touch me. She said that nothing was there and to calm down. At that point, I just stayed in that room ever since. When I was in 3rd grade, I was home alone with my mom. We were sitting at our kitchen table doing my schoolwork. We had been sitting there for about 15 minutes when the toilet down our hallway suddenly flushed. We were both sat there for a second looking at each other, kinda trying to find the courage to go look. When we walked and looked down the hallway, we saw this tiny figure, about close to a foot, whose shadow was going across the wall from the sunlight that was peering into the room. It was almost drying its hands off while rubbing them together. To this day, neither my mom nor I know what we saw, and never really saw anything like this again. All I know is that some weird stuff was happening at that time. Things were going missing, and we found a piece of paper on fire once. The house has never given off creepy vibes, so I can't really say anything else other than a few more paranormal things that I've experienced here. My dad owns a place in northern Ontario, Canada. He's a big-time hunter, and he likes to take me and my brother with him to his property to hunt sometimes. He has a small cabin he built himself. There's a small window next to the roof and about 8 or 9 feet off the ground. I remember one night I was sitting in a tree stand watching for deer. It was fall, so the temperature wasn't too cold. As I was waiting in the stand for my dad to give me the signal to pack up and head back to the cabin, the air around me got really cold in a matter of seconds, and there was no breeze. It was just cold. As I was walking back, I kept getting the feeling something was right behind me, almost breathing on my neck. Fast forward, I was laying in bed with my dad dead asleep on the other side of the room. It was late, like 4 a.m. or later. I remember looking at the wood stove my dad installed a week before this. I looked up at the window I mentioned earlier and saw the head of a deer staring at me. It had no antlers and clear white eyes. For the deer to be looking through that window, it had to be 9 or 10 feet tall. I remember staring at it for what seemed like hours. My dad made a noise, which made me switch my gaze. When I looked back, it was gone. I had that same feeling from when I was walking back from the tree stand. I didn't sleep that night. When my dad woke up, he started packing his things to leave. We left the morning, and I never told him what happened, and my friends think I was bullshitting them. Anyways, I will probably never forget that trip. There's a building the same size I live in, 3 floors but very wide, that is on our left. One night, 9 p.m. on a weekend a long time ago, my brother and his wife were over to eat with us at dinner. I stand by the big window that is closed with plastic covers that let me see through a little. Suddenly, the left building's staircase windows start flickering with light, not at the same time, which makes it more creepy. After 5 seconds, some windows of the apartment started lighting up too. One on the right flickered, lit up for a minute and turned off, which is not creepy alone, but with the left window lighting up with a figure standing in it was pretty creepy. I stand up, watching it in awe. All the lights turn off at the same time. The left window with the figure lights up, and the figure is all black and has long hair, which looks like bunches of ropes, like some people do with their hair. The figure starts rocking side to side very weirdly, like it was hanging on a rope. There wasn't, and tried to get off. It was like it was fighting to get off, or even dancing in chaos with no choreography. I panicked, moved away as tears started to fall down my face. At the time, I couldn't make anything of it, but just seeing it was emotional. I ran to the kitchen, grabbed a towel, and shoved my face in it, shaking. My brother came to wash his hands and noticed, asked, and when I explained, he told me to breathe deep and don't think about it, because my mom would freak out if I told her. I did calm down and went back to see if she was there. She wasn't, and the lights were off now. Completely forgot about it until one day a couple of months ago, I went to my room, which has a window to that building too. Turned up the lights and wanted to change a shirt. I look at the plastic cover to see it partially closed, so no one would see me. I see a window, same size as mine, in front of me, which I know is there. But this time, there was light there and a black figure again, but now with normal hair, at least from what I could make out of a complete dark figure. And she looks like she holds a baby or something on her chest. She looked at me, and I looked back, trying to act normal. And then after a minute of walking away and coming back, she was gone, and I closed the cover. The building is not abandoned, or has any stories about it, and all of this could be just people in a weird lighting with too many open windows. Another paranormal encounter I experienced was when I was around 9 or 10 years old. It occurred when I was at school. I was a 4th grader going to a public elementary school. I had forgotten to use the restroom during recess time, so I had to raise my hand and ask the teacher if I could step out and use the restroom really quickly. My teacher said yes, so I went to the restroom closest to the classroom, which, coincidentally, was still pretty far. As I sat to use the restroom, I remember looking over to the stall next to mine, and I seen the classic black Converse that we all had as kids. I thought nothing of it, and went about my business, wiped myself, and exited the stall. I went to wash my hands, and in front of the sink was a long mirror. Anyways, I looked in the mirror at the restroom stalls, and there was nobody in the stall in the restroom with me. Let me tell you, I ran as fast as I could out of the bathroom and back to class. My ex-boyfriend lived in an old house in a small town in Massachusetts. He always believed in spirits, magic, etc. I thought it was bullshit. I've never been spiritual or religious at all. I've never even been to a church. I'm from a family of scientists. Anyway, I was staying over at his house one night while we were house sitting for his parents, and when I was washing my hands in his bathroom, I heard a knock on the door. It was so strong that it jiggled the lock above the knob, so I yelled, "I'm almost done, please wait." But when I opened the door, nobody was there. It wasn't my ex, because when I looked out the window, he was outside coming back up the driveway with his dog after taking it potty. When I told him what happened, he told me there's a spirit in their house. Even after this, I brushed it off and said it was bullshit. But all night, we kept hearing footsteps up the attic. Clear as day, and there was nobody upstairs. This fucked me up. Dated a girl who was super into Wicca and spirit scribing. High school. We would go to this old abandoned hospital. Tuberculosis had documented deaths and some sketchy history, hence closing, and she would speak with someone by dangling a pencil over paper and letting the spirit write through her. Typical kiddo Ouija stuff. As a skeptic and atheist scientist, I was pretty leery of anything coming from it. We just got some scribbles. What we did get after about 15 minutes of waiting and watching was a wail. Best way to describe it was like the Doppler effect. High pitch on approach, lower as it moves further away, like an ambulance or a motorcycle passing you. But it was a high-pitched shriek that sounded like it moved from one end of the hospital to the other in seconds. Like, "Meow." From the western wings all the way to the eastern, hundreds of meters. Girlfriend went Google-eyed and started talking about an unwelcome presence and immediately moved into protective spell. Even as a non-believer, I figured it couldn't hurt, right? She's halfway through it. I mean, she's reading it from some manual bought at our New Age store. It required some herbs and wasn't short. And the sound comes again, much, much closer. Sounded like we were getting zoomed by this wail. Even I was spooked. We dropped our shit and peeled out in her car. Later that week, after much research and protection spells and charms, we went back. I'll admit to some fearful curiosity. Wanted to figure this out, or else I'd forever question my atheism. She breaks out a protective circle, etc., cliche stuff, and starts trying to basically sort of exorcise or cleanse whatever it is. Me, on high alert, am keeping watch and acting as an anchor. I'm just kind of taking in the dusk around us. It's super quiet and normally would be a peaceful time in this overgrown area, just pleasant bug chirps and light breeze. Heart jumps in my chest, and I'm all but throwing my hands up. For protection, looking up and around me, it comes again, but this time I see it. The bat. Just a bat, using its native sonar to hunt bugs at dusk. Big guy too, swooping from high up down to the tree line and back up. Remember that Doppler effect? Girlfriend is freaking out, squeezing her eyes and apologizing to the spirits, pleading for them to tell us what they need. I just kind of gently break in with her name and tell her to look up and watch. Needless to say, she was fairly disillusioned and disappointed there was a natural explanation. I wasn't a dick about it or anything, and she still cast some charms on me over the next 6 months we dated. It's like a Catholic praying for me, lol. Whatever floats your boat, dude. So, the most paranormal thing to happen to me was freaky at first, but explained later.